Hi, this is Gina Wagers, and this is the Module 9 case study. To start with just a report of the case and what has happened so far, there's a local school district that has a policy which actually penalizes students' grades by giving classroom teachers the authority to deduct or take points away in the gradebook for unexcused absences in excess of 5. The superintendent has identified several problems with the instructional program at the high school. And so the first year school leader within the building has been tasked with addressing the most pressing concern, which is the declining student achievement as a result of the attendance. Who is involved with this? Obviously students that attend school in that building, families and the school community, the superintendent, and then building leadership and staff within that building, the principal, school counselors, and classroom teachers. So continuing thinking about what hasn't happened and any missing information or potential issues that this poses, I think the local school district's policy does not seem to really align with state or federal beliefs about school attendance. Granting the classroom teachers the autonomy to academically penalize students for missing school goes against this idea that education is vital to the welfare of the state and promoting that positive attendance culture. It also creates issues with inconsistent implementation, which can lead to issues with equity as well. I think there's also a disconnect between the community needs and that attendance policy. The current attendance policy data seems to reflect that high achieving students are the most negatively impacted by the policy, which then also in turn provides very little incentive for the most at-risk population of students who would struggle to attend school regularly already. There is some additional data and information that is needed. For example, what role do those local agencies like social services and juvenile court play in that policy or system? Is there any system or schedule of data for data collection, analysis, and discussion between any of those stakeholders that's currently in place? So then thinking about some of these potential issues, are any of these legal or ethical issues? I think there is the potential for some legal or discriminatory issues here because the policy is being inconsistently implemented within the building from teacher to teacher. I think there's also the potential for harm to the relationship between parents and the school or school staff, just because there's documentation showing that there's been a lack of communication with parents regarding attendance. There's also been a lack of follow through on responding to parents who have reached out requesting meetings to discuss attendance and academic concerns. So bringing all of these pieces together, thinking about all the information that is present and even the factors we do not know, the current attendance policy that is being implemented is inconsistent at the building level. It's creating equity issues, and it is not supporting the current and future academic success of the students because it does not involve all of the stakeholders in the school community that need to be involved in this process. So missing information that we would need in order to move forward with creating a plan to address this. People that need to be involved here, there needs to be a close look at building admin to building staff regarding if there's adequate knowledge of the attendance policy, if there's protocol in place for communication between team members regarding student absences, whether one person takes those attendance calls and then distributes that information outward or however that's being handled. There's also room to include parents within this and the communication between building staff and parents. When and how are parents being informed of this attendance policy? Who's responsible for meeting with parents regarding their child's attendance seems to be unclear as well. Thinking about the place in this community, knowing the demographics of the community as far as parents and families having long work commutes. Is there additional data that can be collected as far as transportation in the district that can be analyzed alongside of the attendance data to draw any conclusions about if students are not attending school due to those types of issues? And then thinking about the programs overall, what are the attendance rates for off-campus or work-study CTE classes? That would be interesting to compare to the on-site in-building classes and their attendance. And then should there be opportunities for students to be earning academic credit for trips or absences that would align with any of the standards being taught? So prioritizing that information and what we need to know in order to move forward. Priority number 1, I think, would be collecting any remaining relevant data. We need to know how transportation or the lack thereof is contributing to attendance in the district. We also need to know how off-campus classes are contributing to the attendance rates, whether students, this might also be an engagement issue with students in traditional classroom settings. Priority number 2 would then be to take that data and prioritize distributing that to staff for training on these policies and protocol, and then helping to clarify areas with reporting and addressing absences. Sharing that data with staff is important in order to establish common goals and expectations for attendance. It could also help the staff narrow down and create a list of activities that teachers are willing to accept as academic credit so that students are not being penalized with grades as far as days that they're missing school. I think it would also be important to use this information to create a flow chart that kind of captures each staff member's role in reporting, recording, or intervening in attendance at each level, kind of differentiating between what students are at risk for attendance issues versus which ones are already chronically absent, which ones fall under the category of truant would be important so that there's clear levels and steps that are taken with each of those groups of students to address those absences. I think then that also there's room to create a committee with a variety of stakeholders to work on creating positive incentives for students who are attending school. And then priority number 3 would be identifying any next steps for implementation, whether that's communicating attendance policies and procedures to parents then so that they are involved and informed, and then also offering some kind of ongoing engagement opportunities so that they're receiving education in a positive way that highlights the impact of attendance on academic progress. So then short-term immediate steps as far as an action plan would be to compile relevant attendance data and create a visual with that data for stakeholders. That data the priority would be to distribute that internally within the building first. I think that then leads to step 2, which would be establishing a specific meeting with staff to analyze that data and set those goals, right? We need to use that visual data and some type of data discussion protocol to maintain positive and equitable decision-making so that we can set building attendance goals based on that data, and then also establish clearly defined expectations and staff roles within that building that align with those goals that we identify based on that data. More long-term, the next steps following that would then include creating some kind of committee or regular staff meeting with an attendance focus that targets also in bringing in other stakeholders such as family members. We not only want to use that data to set those goals within the building, but we want to develop some kind of positive incentive program with attendance that's culturally responsive, but also inclusive and promotes attendance in a positive way. It could also be an opportunity to engage families with school. Creating a plan for communicating that attendance data, policy, and all those protocols to parents and guardians is also key at this step in the process because it provides opportunities for them to be engaged and provide their feedback. And then I think more long-term beyond that would be working with district admin to address academic learning absences, demonstrating the capacity to evaluate and advocate for equitable access to educational opportunities and how they want to define absences and whether or not any of those absences can be tied to standards that can then be positively reflected in students' grades. So then what are the benefits of this plan? I think planning for data-driven discussion at the building level so that they can communicate attendance policies not only ensures that staff are knowledgeable about the protocol, but that they can comply at every level of that process. Another benefit is just coordinating with the community and stakeholders so that they're supporting the attendance goals. It helps the building's protocol run smoothly if parents know who to call or contact when they have attendance questions or their student is going to be absent. And it also, again, then provides just that relationship where they have a place to engage and provide feedback on the school's goal with attendance. This allows the principal to apply knowledge and skills to develop and maintain a supportive, equitable, and culturally responsive, inclusive school culture. Another benefit of the plan is just looking more clearly at defining learning that takes place outside of the traditional classroom setting through exploring accommodation options where real-world connections can be made between learning outside the classroom and the standards being taught. It's cost effective because it doesn't cost the school anything if students are pursuing these opportunities on their own. And it can actually increase student engagement in academic learning, which can benefit the students' grades and the scores at the school as well. This also allows the principal to advocate for equitable access to educational resources, technologies, and opportunities that support the success and well-being of each student. Potential issues with the plans is it doesn't change the fact that some people in the building might still not follow the protocol, and this might require further action on the principal's part to address those individuals. There's also the risk in leaving the policy as it is written, since it still places some students at risk of being penalized academically for reasons other than their actual academic performance. Another issue might be collecting that additional data might reveal that there are bigger issues within the district, whether that's transportation or whatever. And it just may be hard to get support from parents at this point if they've not been communicated about regarding the attendance policy before. So reflecting on the plan, what's the best decision is to move forward with an action plan. Not taking any action isn't really an option because it doesn't address the issue and attendance could continue to decline. Action is necessary, so it's important to create and document a data-driven effort that unifies staff in common protocol and goals and communicating that with all stakeholders. So then successful implementation of this plan requires support from the district level admin, communication of attendance policies and procedures within the building to parents, maintaining a positive solutions-focused attitude, and ongoing collection and analysis of all of that data regarding attendance.